Hey there, Improv Tipsters. Well, last week I did this video, talking about my top 3 tips or bits of advice for teachers and coaches. So today I wanted to do a companion piece about my top 3 tips for students or players who are being coached. Well, obviously all the improv tips are tips and bits of advice along the way, but these 3 today are specifically about how to get more out of the coaching or the teaching that you're receiving, okay? So the first one is come prepared to learn. Come prepared to learn. And that means, it can mean a lot of things, but it's like a lot of times I see students who are coming into my class like after work and they're tired from work or they're thinking about this or that or whatever, which I totally get. I remember being in class and coming in like tired from work or whatever, but you need to sort of put all of that aside. You just take a moment and really appreciate the luxury that you have of being in this improv class. You have a moment to step out of your regular flow of your day-to-day life, especially if it's frustrating, and do something fun, do something that you love, right? So come prepared to learn. Caffeine up if you need to, or be able to put aside. In my class, we always do at least the same 2 warm-ups. Sometimes we'll do more. We do the same 2 every week because I feel like I'm a big believer in ritual. And if you have like a little ritual, it gets you prepared to go, lets you let go of the regular day and get into the ritual space of theater, then I think that it really makes a big difference. Like it tells your body and your mind and your spirit, okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to do this. I have a little ritual that I do backstage of every show before I begin. And it's basically this. It's just basically this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's like, it's nothing. It's like nothing at all. But it's just something that gets me like prepared and jazzed up and lets me know like this is the official starting line. Now we're getting ready to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? So come prepared to learn. And the second part of that is really be open to what's happening in class or what's happening with the coach. In this video, take the ride. I basically talked a ton about that, so I won't belabor that point here. Because I think sort of my least favorite, as a teacher, one of the hardest things for me to deal with is like not so much in level 1, but level 3 and higher. Is sometimes you're trying to help a student, give them a note, and they're like, yeah. You're like, yeah, they got it. They know already. Well, if you know already, then you would have done it differently. Like, just take the note and like try it out, and let's go from there. And as I said in Take the Ride, just try it out. You may leave that coaching or that class or whatever and think that I'm full of shit at the end of it, but in that moment, just give it a try. That's all I ask. I think you get a ton out of it because I've done things that I was like, whatever at the beginning of it, but then after I did it, I was like, oh, you know what? I did come away with this thing that I didn't expect. Lessons and sort of revelations about improv and about life are oftentimes the things we didn't expect. And that means putting ourselves out there a little bit. And that sort of comes to my next point, which number 2, which is go for it. In class or in rehearsal, go for it. Put yourself out there. Try some new stuff. Ideally, the class is a safe place where you can fail and try things out. But you really need to do that because if you're not failing, you're not learning. If you're not failing, you're not learning. That's the simple truth of it. So you got to put yourself out there. And I always tell my students, especially in level 1, make big choices, make big mistakes. I would much rather you make some big mistakes than have only these tiny series of sort of muted successes. Like that doesn't teach you anything, right? And also, especially like in level 3, when we do the introduction to Harold is what I teach in level 3. I think it's hard sometimes because students will be like, after a piece, we'll sort of talk about it and students will be like, oh, well, I was thinking about doing this, or what if I did this? It's hard for anyone to give notes on what you were thinking about doing or what you might have done. You know what I'm saying? Do it. Really try. Put yourself out there. That's what class is for. Because if we do like 100% in class, when we get to the show, we have an instinct to sort of maybe play it a little bit more safe. So we'll do 80%, but if we're only doing 80% in class or 50% in class, then when you dial that back for a show, it gets less and less and less until you're basically almost doing nothing during the show, right? So we really need to train ourselves with that that warrior spirit in mind to get out there, take some big chances, make some big choices, see where it goes. And sometimes as a teacher, I say, oh great, I see what you're doing. That's exactly wrong. Because of this, and this, right? But you've learned an important lesson. Great. But if you're sort of like in the middle, as my mom would say, petchy-metchy, sort of like mincing around of like whatever it is you're sort of like kind of sort of maybe getting at. It's hard for you to see what you're doing. It's hard for me to see what you're doing. It's hard for your partner to see what you're doing. Make some big choices. Really go for it. Really put yourself out there. And number 3, and this is the final one, is be thoughtful about what you're doing. Not thoughtful like considerate to other people. You should always be considerate to other people. But be thoughtful about your practice of improv. I was listening to this great podcast, bing, and they were talking about practicing and getting good at things. And this is a guy who coined the phrase of deliberate practice. So I think he knows a little bit about this idea. And it made me think a lot about improv. Is I think sometimes, because like number 1, we're tired or we're not really prepared to learn. We come into class or rehearsal and we just kind of go through the motions. We kind of like, half-ass it. It's like, oh, I know this. I'm just sort of here to blah, 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 whatever. Don't do that. Be thoughtful about what you're doing. I know for me, one of the things that was very helpful when I started improvising in Chicago was I would do a show, and then like afterwards, instead of getting a cab and sort of like being home in 2 seconds, I would walk, and it would like take me 10 or 15 minutes. And during that time, I'd be able to think about what happened in class or what happened in the show, not beating myself up about it, and not sort of being totally like, oh, I don't know, whatever, but thinking about, okay, this is what really, in my scene and other scenes of like what really worked in class. Oh, this person did that and that really worked, or I tried that, or I got this note. What does that really mean? And really had a chance to sort of, be deliberate about my practice and be deliberate about what's happening in class. A lot of times in class, students say, oh gosh, I wish this class were more than once a week. Yeah, I do too. I wish it was more than once a week too. But one way that you can extend the sort of the benefit of being in class is to afterwards really think back about what happened in class and what does that mean, and what did that teach you, and what are those lessons, or what are you gonna do different next time? You know what I'm saying? So just be thoughtful about your practice. So in review really quickly, 1, come prepared to learn. 2, go for it in class. And 3, be thoughtful about your practice. Look, I know this is already long, but what the hell, we're here. I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention these 2 essays, Bing Bing by Mick Napier, that really speak to the heart of what it is that we're talking about now. So check those out, and back to this guy. Try those things out. Let me know what you think. What things have you learned as a student that have helped you be a better student or a better player, or to get more out of the coaching that you're receiving? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Please leave me a comment down below and tell me what you would like to hear an improv tip about. And also, please subscribe and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All the links are in the description down below. Thanks.